That's the first thing they say, look, the driver's all right, but you've had a truck go over. And so I just feel tingly, and I just get goosebumps even thinking about it, because it's just the last thing you want to hear. We have had an incident where a driver didn't make it, which was our son, so that was pretty big.
Yes, I'm Stewie Store, and I run 8 trucks out of South Gippsland, all cattle trucks. After 40 years of driving and probably 10 million Ks, I was unfortunate to have an accident and a rollover on the entrance to the Balti Bridge.
When we first started investigating this, we came across the popular belief that the prime mover always went first. We're showing here now that the trailer always goes first. The driver didn't know he was about to roll. Even when the crash was already underway, he still didn't know. When you watch the footage, you can see that the brake lights don't come on until the trailer is already all the way over. I suddenly realised maybe, it's not actually the driver's fault every time a truck rolls over. Maybe there's a whole lot more to it than just that. The reason that trucks roll over has a lot to do with the fundamental differences between the prime movers and trailers. They have different centres of gravity. Anything with a low centre of gravity is hard to flip over. But something else with a higher centre of gravity, even if it weighs the same, tips over much more easily. It's short and wide against narrow and tall. Low centre of gravity, stable, versus high centre of gravity is unstable. When we do our presentations, we use scale models just to show how the centre of gravity affects rollovers.
Just to give you some sort of example, when a prime mover by itself will roll over, generally, if you look at this model here, I don't know if you can see the figures there, we're starting to get up around 50 to 70 degrees, depending on the truck. We take this log truck, which is pretty common, what you see ripping up and down the road every day, and this is what you're looking at going down the road. Getting up there, you can see what Chris was talking about before. Trailer goes first. We're just starting to lift a wheel there. The reality is, a log truck like that will roll at 15 degrees static. That's before any other forces are applied anywhere.
It could be the way the truck was loaded in the first place. I mean, if the load shifted during the trip down and they get to a particular corner, it's got a bit of slope on it. It could also be other drivers on the road conditions themselves. Perhaps something's wrong with the road, or it's not the right sort of route the truck should be going down.
One classic experience, a bloke I've known for a lot of years, things are a bit tight at the quarry, he's got a big bolt bin, puts wood chips on. First load, same road, over he went.
Most people would say a heavy load will roll first. So what we did was we showed the same weight in sand and chip bark, and we tipped the trailer up, and 30 degrees it tips over. All right, that's what his quarry material does. Fill her up with chip bark, same weight, same truck, same tilt tray, same doing everything. We're already going before it even gets to 20 degrees. That's exactly what happened to him. So we've just shown you that the centre of gravity has more effect than the weight. Centrifugal force acts on trucks, even at parking speeds. The faster you go around any given turn, the greater the centrifugal force is pushing you away from the centre of the turn. So just like the triangle, you push at the top with enough centrifugal force and it will roll over. Here's a good example of that, where the guy has driven down the road and has corrected, thinks he's okay, and then overcorrects again, and you can see it is not much at all. He's corrected, corrects again, and he's gone. That's purely centrifugal force.
We're really happy with the decision to go to roll stability, because if the guy gets it wrong, enters that bend too fast, he has something that's actually assisting him to slow down. We're finding there's a lot more stories from guys where they do believe it's definitely had a trigger that has saved them in some sort of a bad situation, whether it's a rollover, a trailer sway or a jackknife type event.
The simple fact is, if you're driving at the limit, all it takes is a brick on the road, perhaps some loose gravel, crosswind, anything unexpected, and your truck will roll.
Probably the key thing is if the trucks, in a lot of instances, only have to have a little bit of less pressure on them, the truck drivers, so that they weren't right up against it all the time and didn't feel compelled to take every corner on the limit of the ability of the truck and themselves, then that would have to be a help.
The challenge for anyone who's got a liquid load is you can't lash down liquid. You couple that with the fact that you're going around corners and all of a sudden you have a load on board which can be up to 42 tonne, rapidly pushing to the side of the tanker.
This is a model of as true to life as you can get of milk actually sloshing in a tanker. It continues on for quite some time, going through a roundabout, sloshes backwards and forwards. The timing is critical. Our animation shows that in an S-bend, the problem is we've got a dynamically moving centre of gravity. The slosh factor is perfectly timed to tip the truck over. All the weight's on one side. The other one we've got with a dynamic problem is a cement mixer or concrete truck. Agitators only run one way, anti-clockwise. That means all the material is packing up on one side. If you go around a left-hand bend with that material packing up on one side, you've got a bit of a problem because all your weight's on that side.
We're starting to align all these forces. We start to add them all up. We've got our dynamic forces, our static forces, centrifugal force, and whatever other forces. When you start to put all those together, it becomes an accumulative type of effect. But in most cases, these things can be overcome by one simple thing. That's what we call the 1K factor. 1 kilometre an hour will be the difference between staying on your wheels, not knowing there's ever been a problem, and the other one is actually imminent disaster. If you're aware and you add more than 1 kilometre an hour space, something like 5 kilometres an hour headroom, you will get home without a rollover.
We've had significant reductions over the last 2 years in truck incidents. 60% reduction in truck accidents in Vic Forest's area. So the code of behaviour, along with some other training programs, has been really significant. The big stick is always there, and Vicroads are clear that they will use that if they need to, but it's about education first up, and they've been really helpful with us in working with our drivers and contractors.
We've found that, more often than not, driver's not malicious in any way, shape or form. It's more he's 1K could be all it is, like they say in the presentation today. So it could be as little as that.
We spent 10,000 on training. Would be peanuts compared to what a single rollover costs us.
Start off with the drivers because they're out there on the road, but make sure management and schedulers and everyone else, understand these things too.
I've attended hundreds of fatal collisions, and many of which have involved trucks that have rolled over. I'm also a person who has knocked on the door at 2 o'clock in the morning to inform a loved one. So I believe this Vicroads initiative deserves support. It has potential to reduce the number of truck rollover crashes. It has the potential to reduce the number of lives lost on the road, and hopefully it will mean that I don't have to knock on any doors in the middle of the night.
Safety really is everyone's first concern, so it's been quite a privilege to be involved with the Rollover Awareness Initiative. It's a win, not just for the drivers, but for everyone involved across the transport industry and beyond. And its benefits stretch right out across the whole community.